So you use ChatGPT, but I have been able to build my own ChatGPT. You and I are not in the same category. Come, let's be serious. I got some help, a whole lot of help from using the OpenAI API. Yeah, the OpenAI API. And on this channel, I've been saying a lot about using the APIs provided by these companies, that's OpenAI and Google. And as a proof of concept, I decided to build my own ChatGPT. That's use one of their AI models that I can connect through their API to build my own ChatGPT. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through what I've been able to achieve doing that. So let's get started. Okay, so now let's look at what I've been able to build. The first thing, let's go to the command line. So I have the project open, the AI chatbot. So what I'm just going to do is start the front end by saying npx http server the / front end. Now, if you are not familiar with programming or Node.js or any of this stuff, you can still continue to watch, because yeah, you can simply ignore all this. This is just me trying to run the application. So this is the front end running, and we're also going to spin up the back end. The back end is here, so I'm going to go into the back end and also get it running. Node server. So we have a front end and a back end. And I'm going to go to my browser. The backend is running at port 8080. So this, I'm just going to copy the address from here. So localhost 8080, copy, and I'm going to load it up in my browser. And here we have our chatbot. Just this chatbot I've been able to build. Sorry if it's not as impressive as ChatGPT. That's the user interface, but this will work just the same way ChatGPT will work. So what question should we ask it? Who was the first man on the moon? Yeah, who was the first man on the moon? Let's hit send and wait, and you can see it says the first man on the moon was Neil Armstrong. What year did he land on the moon? He landed on the moon. What year did he land on the moon? And hit that and wait for the answer. It says Neil Armstrong landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969, as part of the Apollo 11 mission. Who were the other astronauts with him? I didn't spell astronauts correctly here. I'm going to intentionally leave it like that, and just hit send and wait for ChatGPT the API to figure out what it is. So the other astronauts, you see, it knew that I was trying to say astronauts, and it spelled it correctly in the reply. And it says that the other astronauts on the Apollo 11 mission were Buzz Aldrin. I was about to see Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins. So these were the other guys with him. So as you can see, this works just like ChatGPT. I didn't add code this anywhere. I'm still going to show you the backend code, and you can see that it's not like I had coded all these answers and I was just writing the exact questions to give me these answers. This is using the OpenAI API, using their GPT 3.5 turbo model to generate all these responses to the queries or the prompts in AI speak that I am sending. So this is what I've been able to build with the OpenAI API as a proof of concept that you can actually build your own AI chatbot using any of these APIs. This was built using the OpenAI API. You can also build this with one of the Google Vertex AI offerings that they currently have. So now let's look at the different parts that make up this application. Let's look at how this application came to be. So first we have the front end. This is just a simple HTML file. This is just one single HTML file. Let me pull up VS Code. I already have the code open in VS Code. So we have the back end and we have the front end. The front end is just a simple HTML file. Like I've said, we open this. Let me wrap the view for this. Let me just wrap the view. So just one HTML file and little styling, for the chat bubbles and stuff. This is the UI. This is the entire UI. Send message function. Now this send message function is the one that controls that send button, and what it basically does is that it gets what you type in the message and makes an API call to the backend. So it just makes an API call to the local backend that is running. Like I said, if you're not a developer, you don't need to. You just follow along. Just watch me tell my story. So then once it gets a response, it calls this append message function, which is basically responsible for adding the messages to the screen and also differentiating between the message that come from you and the one that comes from the AI itself. So yeah, this is that function. This is the append message function. So that's the front end. It calls this backend, which is server.js. That's the folder here, the backend. That's an environment variable that holds my API key. I won't be opening that because yeah, I don't want you guys to see my API key. But this is the backend. Basically boilerplate express stuff. But the most interesting parts here are the configuration for the OpenAI API, and also down here, there's also instantiating a new OpenAI API object with the configuration that we have defined. This configuration is defined using the API key that I've saved in this environment variable. And then we have two routes. One for the base, one is the base route, which just says welcome to our AI backend. And the next route is the message route, which is the one we are actually calling from the front end. If you look at the front end, you see we're calling this localhost 1330/message with a prompt. And here we are receiving that prompt. We're receiving the prompt here. And we're building a chat completion object, which is what you do with the OpenAI API. You call the create chat completion and define the model you want to use and the messages you want to send. So this just calls the OpenAI API and uses this exact model and passes your messages, and then you get a response which you can then feed back to your front end. So that's how everything kind of comes together. Just a simple client server application, but making use of the OpenAI API through the Node.js library. Yeah, there's a Node.js library called OpenAI. That's what we're using. We're using it to define the configuration and to instantiate a new object for the OpenAI API, and then using that in this message route to call the API. So yeah, that's how the application was built. Quite simple, but from the impact we're seeing in the front end, being able to chat, use a chatbot, it's really powerful what this simple application can do. And to know that you can actually train this to be like your customer service representative, or to just help people through your FAQs, or to build an intelligent online, let's say, teacher online class, use this in an LLM and stuff like that. It's just like an e-learning solution. Yeah, use it in an e-learning solution. This is an LLM. The model is an LLM. Use it in an e-learning solution. It's just amazing what you can get through these APIs that OpenAI and Google have provided. So I may have talked about how simple this application was. We have a client and a server, and you call the OpenAI API. But there are a few challenges I encountered while building this application. The first thing is that you have to understand how OpenAI handles API calls, like the fact that they use tokens. So you're not just sending words to the application. They break down this prompt into tokens, and that is what is used to price your usage, your API usage. And when you open a new OpenAI account, you get some credit. You get some credit that I think you can use for 3 months, and then it expires. I think it's like $18 credit that you get before it then expires. And this is what, as you use the API, just like I'm using the API here with these prompts that I'm sending, the usage is going to be counting, and you're going to get charged for that. So you can exhaust that $18 within a very short time if you're making a lot of calls to the API. So you want to make sure that you're making only important calls to the API. Another thing you can do is to make sure that you set your usage limits. On the dashboard, there's a place where you can check your usage. You can check how much you're using the OpenAI API, and you can also set limits to what you are going to spend in a month. For example, I set a limit of $20 so that I know that I'm not spending more than $20 every month. So that's one thing. You really need to understand how these API calls are handled and how they are priced, because using the API is not free. It's not free. But the biggest challenge was that when I was building this application and I got my first prompt, I was able to communicate with the API. I noticed that I lost context after the first question, because then I was trying to ask it who was the US president. So I said something like, okay, who's the US president? And it gave me the reply, okay, the US president is Joe Biden. But then I replied, what year was he elected? I think what year was he elected? And the application was asking me who he was. Like, it doesn't have enough context to know who the E I was referring to was. So there's a bit of a context problem with the application. So I had to dig more into the OpenAI API and understand the fact that when you're sending messages, let's go to the backend where we're sending messages. When you're sending messages, there are actually different types of messages that you can send. That's why the messages are sent in this messages array. There are different, oh, sorry, this popped up. Yeah, sorry about that. So there are different types of messages you can send in this messages array. There's the user message, which is your actual prompt, but then there's a message you can send to make the API understand the previous context. So let's say you first ask the AI who is the current US president, and it gives you an answer. That answer is the context of the next question you want to ask. So it's the context of the next prompt, and that should be sent in something called an assistant message, because messages are actually marked by roles. So, and you can see I'm checking if there's a previous message, and I'm sending an assistant message to the, wonder why this keeps popping up. Okay, so this role, I'm setting a role, and I'm sending an assistant message to the API. So, and I'm using the previous message. That's the one that gave me the name of the US president. I'm sending the previous message that I got from the AI as the assistant message before I then send the user message itself, which I did down here. You see, after checking if there's a previous message, I send it as an assistant in an assistant role. I send the previous message in an assistant role before I then send the user message. If there's no previous message, I just send the user message, which is like the very beginning of the conversation. So that's one thing you have to take note of. These models are not sentient. They are not really alive. You have to define everything for them. And one of those things is telling them what was the previous conversation you had before they can actually continue that conversation with you and understand what you're talking about. So that was the main challenge that I faced when I was developing this proof of concept ChatGPT. That's my own ChatGPT. Finally, let's talk about how we can improve this chatbot. That's this particular one at this state. So one of the first things I would like to do is to add some sort of loading indicator, some sort of progress indicator. So when I send a message, let's say, who is Michael Jordan? So we want like a progress indicator that shows that the message is currently waiting for a response before it then gets a response. For now, we just wait. We don't have any kind of indication that something is going on before the answer comes. So I would like to add a progress indicator, probably something around maybe under the message when it's loading, or something in between the display and the message box. Yeah, just anything to just show the user that, yeah, your query is currently processing, and you'll be getting an answer very soon. So that's one thing. The other thing is definitely you can style this AI. Sorry, I said AI. You can style the UI as much as you want. As the user interface, you can design it to fit your own theme, your own style, just to appeal to the users that you're targeting. So you want to customize the look and feel of this to what you want. Another thing you can do is to make this a whole standard application with user logins and session timing and tracking which users are using what amount of tokens and all that, and restricting the amount of tokens that every user can use and all those kind of things, just to make sure that you're using the API fairly. So there's a lot you can do to improve this. I'm just like saying some of the things that I would like to do to improve, as this is just like it's just more like an MVP or what an AI chatbot would be. So you can also style these messages to look different. Like I just did something simple with Bootstrap, but you can have different colors or styles that fit your application that you want to introduce into this. You can also probably not make it a full application. You might make it a widget in your own application. This can also appear as a widget in your application instead of being its own entire application. So there's a lot of things that you can do, a lot of things that you can use to improve it. You can also make it, that's in the programming end, you can make it more deterministic or more diverse. There's this setting called temperature that you can set. And the higher your temperature, the more deterministic the answer is. So, for example, if you set your temperature to something like 0.2, OpenAI is going to return like 3 different answers, and you can get to pick one of them. So the AI kind of gets more creative. But if you want specific answers, you want the AI to give you its best answer, you want to set your temperature to something like 0.9 or 0.8 or just 1. So yeah, the 1 is the highest value of the temperature. So you can determine how diverse or how deterministic the AI is. So that's just from the configuration aspect. You can also change the GPT model GPT to GPT-4. This is currently using GPT 3.5 because it's the one that is recommended for AI chatbots, but you can bump that up to GPT-4 and have something that is more intelligent. That's a model that is more intelligent. Yeah. So those are the improvements that you can make to this. If you have more suggestions, you can come to the comment section and put them there. There is a repo. I am going to be putting the link to the repo to this project in the description of this video. So if you want to also play around with this, you want to improve it, or you want this to be like your seed project for your AI chatbot, you can make use of this. Also, I made a course on how I built this. So if you're interested, I also have the link in the description. You can get that on Udemy at like a 75%. The link I put in on Udemy has like a 75% discount. So you can get that course and see how I got to build this step by step. So that's how I was able to build my own ChatGPT. So that's how I got to build my own ChatGPT. If this video has been beneficial to you, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more videos on this channel. I also made a video that talks about 5 ways you can add AI to your application using any of these AI API services provided by Google and OpenAI. If you're interested in that, you can check out this video to learn more about that. Thank you.